Hello everyone, this is CY once again. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to do a third part to the comparison between the Gemilai 3007L and the 3007Z. Today we are focusing on the frothing of milk. Let's get started. And before we continue, do consider hitting the subscribe and like button now. It does help us a lot so that we can continue to make a lot of good video for all of you. There's a few corrections I would like to make regarding the machines. First of all, the stock Gemilai 3007Z also come with a 3-hole steam tip, same as the Gemilai 3007L. So both machines actually comes with the 3-hole steam tip. And in terms of the heating up, how fast it heat up to the same temperature, as you can see, I start the machine on the same time, and you can see that the both machines are actually climbing up in the same way. So both machines actually heat up around the same time, which means to say that the heating power of both machines are identical. Maybe when it first started, somehow the 3007Z seems to speed up faster, but you can see now both machines are actually heat up on par to each other. Both are reaching around the same temperature. In fact, the 3007L, the earlier version, is actually slightly faster now. So I would say, to be fair, both machines should be around the same in terms of how fast it heats up to the temperature. And while waiting for the machine to heat up to steam temperature, let's take a while to look at the sunset at my balcony. So it's a very beautiful sunset today. Has been pretty hot for the past few days. So, yep, that's a beautiful sunset over there. Alright, let's head back to how fast the milk is being steamed up to temperature. As you can see, both machines has now reached 93. Currently, let's check out what is the setting of the steam temperature on the machine on the 3007Z. So, go to H2 to check your steam temperature. I believe I've set it to the maximum, which is 147. So this is at the highest temperature setting for the steam temperature. And on the 3007L, you can't do any setting for the steam temperature. So let's check out the steaming power, right? So here. Okay, it's going to purge. Right, I can see very clearly the 3 stream there, right? The steam, I would say that it's medium, right? It's a little bit wet, right? But it's not the wettest steam tip I've ever seen. After a while, it gets more consistent, right? Because it is using the thermal block to generate the steam, right? So this is on the 3007Z. Let's check out the 3007L. Right, I can definitely feel that the 3007L has a slightly stronger steaming power as compared to the 3007Z. Right, you can see both. The 3007Z, it's more consistent in terms of steam. But after a while, both seems to be around the same. Right, and we will measure how fast it steams the temperature of the milk. And to mimic that, I've actually put some ice in my kettle to mimic the temperature of the milk. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how much water I'm going to use, and I'm going to use detergent to sort of mimic the milk texturing so that I don't waste any milk from there. Right, so I believe usually I use around 180 ml of milk, but let's take a look. The temperature of the water now should be very similar to the temperature of the milk. I just get it out from the refrigerator. Should be very, very similar to each other. Right, it's around 100 and let's do 170 ml. Right, and then let's use a dab of detergent. Right, and let's see. Let's check it out on the Gemilai 3007L first and how fast it actually steams the milk. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use what we call the ghost frothing, which means I'm going to just I'm going to adjust the steam tip to a very favorable positions, and then I'll let it texture by itself. At the same time, you should be able to see the time that I spent trying to get the temperature to around 65 or 60 to 65 degrees Celsius. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use what we call the ghost frothing, which means I'm going to leave the pitcher free from my hand. That means I'm just going to touch it, I'm not going to hold it. Some of my subscribers asked me where should I place my steam tip for the 3007L. As the steam tip comes with 3 holes, usually we tend to bury a little bit deeper. I would say that I will probably go around 5 mm into the water, and you can see the position of my milk jug. Half of the milk jug is actually sitting outside the machine, and half the milk jug is actually sitting inside the machine. If you find that this is not safe, you can push it a little bit inside. But at this position, I find that the angle that the milk is being textured usually give you the best result. So let's get started. Right, let me bring out the timer so that you can see better. So I'm going to start the timer, I'm going to switch on the steam tip, and then let's see how the 3007L takes. How long does it take to steam the milk to around 60 to 65 degrees Celsius? I do not need to do anything. I did not need to move any position. I do not need to slide the pitcher up and down to get it to the right position. There's no need to do anything at all. Right, as the milk volume up, okay. Right, it's around 25 seconds to heat the temperature that I want, which is around quite burning to the hand already. It's already too hot to the touch. And if you look at the consistency of the milk, not the milk, the detergent, actually it doesn't look like detergent at all, right? So this is how the 3007L, how powerful the steam one is, and it gives you very velvety, very smooth kind of a milk quality, milk texture, and I never fail to be able to get good milk texture from the 3007L without moving my pitcher. So let's move on to the 3007Z and see how long it takes to texture the milk. For the same thing, I'm going to fill about 170 ml of water. Same thing, the pitcher, the water is still cold, which I'm trying to mimic the temperature that you just brought out the milk from the refrigerator. So I'm also going to use around 170 ml of water, and then a dab of detergent. That's all you need. Okay, so let's move on to the 3007L. 3007Z. Before we do, we always purge the steam tip so that you can see only steam comes out. Alright, same thing, I'm going to position half of the, about 5 mm deep into the water, underneath the surface of the water. And the position I find the best will be at this position, which is actually halfway sitting outside the machine and halfway sitting in the machine. You do not have to worry that the pitcher actually will fall out, because the steam one actually hold in place. But if you are worried, you can just hold on to the side of the milk jug, but you do not need to move, right? So let's get started. The angle that you place the steam one is very important, and that's actually how you get the microfoam to be distributed well all around, entirely, so that it distributes very well throughout the entire pitcher. Right, at around 25 seconds, right, it does the same thing. Right, it is also heated up to around the same temperature that is almost too hot to touch. Maybe I should use a thermometer to measure, but for now you just have to trust me, right? So again, right, I think this one, it's a little bit more foamy, right, but you can see it is definitely capable of texturing the milk. Alright, so as a final conclusion, what's the difference between the 3007L and 3007Z? So the main difference is actually the OPV, right? You can actually adjust the OPV on the newer version, but you can't adjust the OPV on the older version. And Is it a very major thing? Is it something that you can do to overcome it? I believe so. You can actually vary the flow, which is a little bit more troublesome to do. You definitely need some sort of a mod so that you can adjust the flow on the go, so that you can actually reduce the pressure as it goes. So that's one way to overcome the OPV, right? But with the OPV, you can limit your pressure at 9 bar, 6 bar, whatever bar you want. So it is definitely a step better than the 3007L, right? The second thing is the 3007Z comes with more settings, which means you are able to adjust both the brew temperature as well as the steam temperature. I think I prefer to max out the steam temperature so that I can get my texture of milk within about 25 seconds. That's my personal preference, and you can see how I do the ghost frosting. You don't have to move the pitcher up and down. You do not have to do all this thing. Just let it stay there, and it will texture your milk very nicely for you, right? You do not have to do anything at all. Just make sure that the initial angle is right and how deep you actually position your steam tip. That's the most important about this machine, right? With 3 holes, the more holes you get, the deeper your steam tip is going to go, right? Underneath the milk surface, right? And also the pre-infusion setting, which is I'm going to do next, right? So I'm going to compare one more time, which is the part 4. So I believe part 4 should be the final part. And I'm going to really compare the difference between whether I have pre-infusion set on and pre-infusion off. Will I get any difference in taste of the espresso? Whether is there any difference in the I believe there will be, definitely, right? Between the pre-infusion setting on the 3007L, which is very limited, basically just trickle water a little bit and then it stops for the entire pre-infusion timing. But the 3007Z definitely has a more well-designed, I would say a software design to control the pre-infusion. Now you pre-infusion, you have 2 settings. You can actually pre-infuse with a pump on, and you can also pre-infuse with the pump off, and you can set individual timing. So that's something that is added value on the 3007Z and not on the 3007L, right? Other than that, the steam, a number of holes on the steam tip is the same. There are 3 hole steam tip. The time that it takes to heat up the machine is also approximately the same. They have the same heating power, and the steam power is also very similar on both, right? But bear in mind that I maxed out my steam temperature for the 3007Z to achieve the same standard as the 3007L, so that both machines can texture the milk to around 60 to 65 degrees Celsius in around 25 seconds. So everything else on the machine is the same, but I believe the 3007Z definitely it's easier for me to get a better espresso because I do not have to do so much work. I do not have to tweak my flow that much in order to achieve a better tasting coffee or espresso. But on the 3007L, I need to do that because the other way, of course, is you have to grind. You have to control your grind setting so that you can achieve the pressure you want to be. So by adjusting the flow and controlling grind setting, you are able to heat very close to the tasting notes of the what I get from the 3007Z. So stay tuned for part 4, which will be the final part, and then I will give you my final thoughts on 2 machines. Basically, this is really like a very good summary, the comparison between the 2. But then I believe I should test out the pre-infusion setting also for you. So stay tuned for part 4, and that will conclude my review on the 3007L, the Gemilai 3007Z and L model. So thanks for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button and then like my videos. I'll see you very soon in part 4.